Our ancient ancestors ate the brains of their dead enemies. A restaurant owner is not allowed to have profanity-laced fortune cookies. And the Treasury is told to stop making new pennies. These are the weird stories for Weird AF News, the only daily weird news podcast on Earth. Researchers discover that ancient Europeans ate the brains of their dead enemies. It's the sound of science. Human remains discovered in a cave in Poland have revealed ancient European groups actually cannibalized the dead in an act of war. A new analysis of fractures on the bones suggests that people removed the ears and scooped out the brains. So sorry, this is a little graphic. They removed the ears and scooped out the brains of their vanquished enemies shortly after they died. Apparently they ate the brains. So the paleo diet was actually the same diet that zombies have. So good to know. Brains. Let's keep reading and find out why they ate the brains of their enemies. I'm assuming it's because of, that pesky thing called starvation, which a lot of our ancient ancestors were experiencing. I mean, back then, you just ate anything, I'd imagine, right? A pile of ants. Oh, the brains of my dead enemies. Oh, horsehair. Now, this study here is legit, apparently. It was published in the Journal of Scientific Reports. Ooh, how about that? So very impressive. Researchers detailed the evidence of some cannibalism they found on 53 bones from a cave in Poland. The archaeological site is near Krakow. The bones were dated to 18,000 years ago during the Magdalenian period of European prehistory. You guys remember the Magdalenian period? That's my favorite period. A lot of cool stuff was happening, including zombie diets. This came from at least 10 people, 6 adults and 4 children is where they got the bones. They used advanced 3D microscopy techniques. Super nerdy stuff. The researchers identified cut marks and fractures on a large percentage of the bones and were able to rule out carnivorous animals and accidental trampling as causes for these injuries. Looking at 24 skull fragments specifically, these nerds identified cuts made from scalping, defleshing, and removing the ears and jaws. Brains! Need more brains. Additionally, fractures along the cranial sutures suggested that people were breaking corpses' skulls specifically to remove the brains. Need brains. Further evidence of butchering could be seen on shoulder, arm, and leg bones. Yeah, they probably just ate their entire enemies, I'd imagine. They're hungry, man. 18,000 years ago, you're talking like around the Ice Age. Where's the food? There's no food. There's no farming. This is why all the woolly mammoths went wrong, because they were eating them all. And what happens if you can't find a woolly mammoth to feed your friends? You got to eat your friends. Or your enemies, specifically your enemies. But if you run out of enemies, they probably ate some friends, is what I'm guessing as well. Back to the article where it says a high percentage of bones that had been manipulated after death strongly suggest cannibalistic behavior, the researchers wrote in the study, as people prepared and extracted the edible parts of the bones. Additionally, the pattern of cut marks and fracturing suggested that people prioritized the removal of the most nutritious and calorie-dense parts of corpses, including the brains, bone marrow, and muscles shortly after the individuals died. But the reason, it says, for the cannibalistic behavior is unclear. Well, I just told you guys the reason. Hello, they're hungry. This is 18,000 years ago. You know how hungry they were? These nerds, though, they say they don't know. They say it could have been in response to survival needs or the ritual practices or even to the dynamics of intergroup violence. No, man, it's starvation. I'm telling you. I mean, you think they ate the brains of their enemies and thought that they would acquire the knowledge of the enemies if they did so? I think it's much more pragmatic than that. Now, I would just like to say for the record that I have eaten brain, cow brain. That's right, in Mexico City, cow brain tacos. And I have to say, it was pretty good. It surprised me. I mean, it was completely doused in some spices, of course, but I enjoyed it. I recommend if you're ever in Mexico to give it a try. Pretty tasty. I don't recommend eating human brains for many reasons, including too many microplastics. A restaurant owner is ordered to censor her profanity-laced fortune cookies. We got a woman named Naji Chu. She's the owner of an extremely popular Vietnamese restaurant in Australia called Lady Chu. Now, Mrs. Chu put an order in for some profanity-laced fortune cookies for Valentine's Day. That sounds wonderful. Who doesn't enjoy profanity-laced fortune cookies at any time of the year? They're hilarious. Well, Mrs. Chu was very shocked and slightly tickled to receive a response from her manufacturer, who said that they were no longer accepting offensive language after her messages were mistakenly mixed into other customer orders. Oh, so she wrote out specifically what she wanted on the fortune cookies, like requested them, and it was a lot of profanity, and they didn't understand that that's what she was doing, was ordering them. They thought she was just yelling at them these profanity-laced phrases, which is very odd. And I didn't know you could do this, by the way. You could order profanity-laced fortune cookies from these companies. Why would you order any other if you could do this? I did go to a fortune cookie factory in San Francisco. There's one in Chinatown. I highly recommend it. It's free to go in there. It's super old and weird. And for just a little bit of money, you can write your own fortune cookie, your own fortune, and have them put it in a cookie for you. You can write several if you'd like. Just like personalized fortunes that they'll put in the cookie, and they'll do it right in front of your face. So it's really cool. You get to see them put it inside. It was awesome. I bought a couple for some friends. Okay, back to the story in Mrs. Chu and her restaurant in Australia. In the email, the manufacturer of the cookies said other customers were quite upset to find Mrs. Chu's messages inside their custom cookies at the end of last year. As a result, management have decided to no longer accept customized. Well, so you screwed up by putting Mrs. Chu's messages into the other customized fortune cookies the end of last year. That's not Mrs. Chu's fault. Okay, so now I see what's happening here. They're not going to do business with Mrs. Chu in the way she wants to do business, which is have customized fortunes for her customers for Valentine's Day that are a little, racy. Now, the fortune cookie supplier said that Mrs. Chu could order empty cookies from them and insert the funny messages herself. How are you supposed to insert the funny messages after they've already been folded, idiots? You have to put the message in while the cookie's still, malleable. I saw it with my own eyes at the fortune cookie factory in San Francisco. You can't insert the fortune afterward. Wow, these people are dumb. Poor Mrs. Chu's not going to get these awesome fortune cookies in time for Valentine's Day, which is tomorrow. Now we have here some of the messages that Mrs. Chu wanted in the cookies. The year of the snake bears good fortune. Your divorce is coming soon. That's great. Here's another one. I only married you for your money, you ugly C word. Whoa. She put that in there, the C word. Here's another one. You are capable of great things, but all you do is look at your phone all day. You won't be that great. Sorry. You'll never find a partner because you snore. In the future, you will have large man boobs. Those last two were mine. The article says that Mrs. Chu has been stuck inserting messages into cookies herself ahead of tomorrow, February 14th. She says it's labor-intensive work. She wants her customers to enjoy her cheeky signature messages. So she went to a printer and printed them out herself? Wow, she's going to lengths to please her customers. Mrs. Chu, if you're listening, feel free to use the two fortunes that I wrote for this particular segment that I said earlier in it. Now, Mrs. Chu does say she's going to continue to do business with the manufacturer. Last year, can you guess how much Mrs. Chu spent on fortune cookies? $10,000. That seems like a lot. How many? That's a lot of business, man. I would let her have her profane fortune cookies if I was this company. I would. Come on, man. We're living in a time where people want choices. They want to customize. We're just not. People don't sit back now and just be receivers of whatever the heck you're dealing them. They want control. So I would suggest using a different supplier, Mrs. Chu. And if you want me to write some of the fortunes for you, I'd be more than happy to. This is a very weird story, by the way. It wasn't what I thought it would be. But now that I'm getting into it, I'm kind of invested in Mrs. Chu and her business. I need to get down to Australia, pay her a visit. It's nice to know that Mrs. Chu, I believe, is getting some pretty good PR because of this story. You should support her. And we should consider a change in fortune cookies. Why not? Why can't they be funny all year round? Why can't they be surprising? Maybe even a little rude. Of course, you don't want to give those out to children, but you have a separate cookies for the adults, maybe. Not negative, but funny. Okay, some of them could be negative. Fortune cookies are always positive, and life really isn't like that. Let's be honest. And that cookie doesn't taste very good. So what are we getting out of it here? How about a laugh would be nice? I've been doing a joke about fortune cookies not tasting very good, coincidentally, and there's a line in there that I really like, and the line is, fortune cookies taste so crappy that they have to put a note of encouragement inside so you don't cry while eating it.
Save on Cox Internet when you add Cox Mobile and get fiber-powered internet at home and unbeatable 5G reliability on the go. So whether you're playing a game at home,
yes, cool,
or attending one live, you can do more without spending more. Learn how to save at cox.com/internet. Cox Internet is connected to the premises via coaxial cable. Cox Mobile runs on the network with unbeatable 5G reliability as measured by Ookla LLC in the U.S. 2H 2023. Results may vary, not an endorsement. Other restrictions apply.
Let's rock.
Donald Trump tells Treasury Secretary to stop making new pennies. Actually, they use the verb minting new pennies. The president has ordered a stop to minting new pennies because apparently they cost more to make than they're worth. I've heard that before. I've heard that they cost more to make than they're worth. And at that moment, I also wondered, why are we still making these? It seems like bad business, right? I don't really own a business. I'm no mathematician, but if your cost to make them is more than what they're worth, maybe stop doing that. Canada and Australia did this. Canada in 2013 and Australia in 1992. They stopped with the pennies, and they just round down or round up is what they do. Hopefully round down. Let's keep reading and find out if this is actually going to go through and what people are saying about it. Trump announced that he has directed the Treasury Secretary to halt production of the 1-cent coin featuring Abe Lincoln as part of a broader effort to cut waste in the national budget. Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot of waste, too. I'd be fascinated to learn how much they waste a year on making the pennies. Might be in the hundreds of millions. Here's a quote from Mr. Trump. He says, "For far too long, the U.S. has minted pennies, which literally cost us more than 2 cents. This is so wasteful. I have instructed my Secretary of the U.S. Treasury to stop producing new pennies." Wow, does it really cost more than 2 cents to make 1 penny? Yeah, that's really stupid. I agree with this. It makes sense to me. Well, no, it makes no sense, but that which actually makes sense. I want it to make no sense so that it makes sense. Just having some fun with the words. I don't know if this is going to go through, though. There's probably some penny lobby that puts a stop to this. We're going to start seeing pro-penny commercials in the U.S. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, it costs more than what they're worth. Just get rid of this. Is this, controversial? It probably is. I say get rid of dimes and nickels, too. Just get rid of this stuff. This is archaic. Do you realize only about 15% of transactions in the U.S. were made with cash in 2024? This is a very low number, man. I think you can do away with this stuff. It's just then vendors, merchants rounding up or rounding down is the issue. But, often businesses are happy to get cash payment rather than credit card payment because there's fees involved for merchants. So I'm sure they'd have no problem rounding down. I guess we'd have to set this up and then see what they do. Are they rounding down or rounding up? And then there could be a federal law that requires you to round down, which would be cool. I'm not even sure it would play out that way, but, I feel, to me, it seems like worth a try. Listen to these stats. The U.S. Mint reported losing $85 million in the 2024 fiscal year on the nearly 3 billion pennies that it produced. Every penny costs nearly 0.037 cents to make. So it's almost 4 times what it's worth. This is crazy. It says here the mint also loses money on the nickel, with each of the 5-cent nickels costing nearly 14 cents to make. A nickel! So, probably another $100 million wasted on nickels, or maybe more. $85 million on pennies. That's a lot. You could do a lot with $85 million. You really, really could. I support this. I just hate wastefulness, especially in government. It is unclear whether Mr. Trump has the power to unilaterally eliminate the lowly 1-cent coin. Currency specifications, including the size and metal content of coins, are dictated by, can you guess? Congress. Well, there's your barrier right there. It's Congress. So, and what's the average age of the person in Congress? They remember a time when they could actually get something for a penny. So to them, a penny has value. We have to wait for all them to pass on. Well, you're going to need a Congress that's really accustomed to digital currencies and just paying for stuff with their phones before I think this penny will go away. I don't know, though. Maybe this will work. Maybe the president can make this happen. It says proponents of eliminating the penny have cited cost savings, speedier checkouts at cash registers, and the fact that a number of countries have already eliminated their 1-cent coins. Canada, for instance, stopped minting its penny in 2012. Oh, my mistake. I said it was 2013. I was a year off. It wouldn't be the first time the U.S. eliminated its least valuable coin. Did you know the half-cent coin was discontinued by Congress in 1857? Wow, half a cent. Yeah, in my opinion, this should go. This is a nuisance. No one wants pennies. You know how I know? Go buy anything at a store. There's a little tray or a cup at the register for people to just throw their pennies in there. No one even wants them. Although, maybe you have a different opinion on this because you're 87 years old. Call the show. 646-450-2012.
Have you ever spotted McDonald's hot, crispy fries right as they're being scooped into the carton? And time just stands still. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
It's raining news. Hallelujah. It's a raining news every day. It's raining in Southern California. It's really raining. There's flood warnings. We just can't get enough of this stuff, right? Fires and floods. Wow. It's dangerous out here, guys. It's dangerous. Anyways, I'm okay. I'm in a flood-safe zone, I believe. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. My balcony's certainly flooding. I also understand that it's snowing. There's some severe blizzards going on in other parts of the country. I'm speaking of the U.S. specifically, where I reside. It's getting some crazy weather, guys. It just, take care of yourself. Be safe. Weekend's upcoming. Excited about it. Tomorrow's Friday, so we're doing the Florida Friday episode. If you're new to the podcast, on Friday, I only do weird news from Florida because they deserve it. And so if you come across some Florida news from this week that you think is appropriate for the show, just email me, funnyjones@gmail.com, or slide them into my DMs at funnyjones. I have a show tonight in downtown LA at Cranes. It's a bar. The information's on my Instagram at funnyjones if you'd like to come on down. I think it's a free show, but I'm not sure. There's some information on my Instagram page. You can find that out. Anyways, if you can brave the rain, come on out. Got Valentine's Day weekend coming up, so I'm very excited. Hope you guys have somebody that you can spend it with. Actually, it's fine if you're spending it alone as well. I think that's okay. Just maybe treat yourself to something. Just pop open a bottle of bubbly, smoke a cigar, and listen to Weird AF News episodes. That sounds pretty romantic to me, right? Wouldn't you want to spend your Valentine's Day with Jonesy? Who wouldn't? Anyways, I'm getting a little silly here, which means it's time to wrap it up. If you guys would like to support the show, please go to weirdafnews.com and you can buy Jonesy a Valentine's Day coffee. That's pretty cool, right? Just, you can click on the Buy a Coffee banner. Or you can join the Patreon. This weekend I'm going to be recording a bonus episode for the Patreon with another comedian and a podcast hoster. And I'm very excited about that. It's going to be an amazing episode, so I'll put that on the Patreon. I put a trailer in there today of a really weird movie that I just watched the other night. Oh my goodness, it's so good. By one of my favorite directors. So those of you who are members of the Patreon, check that trailer out. And I put some information on where you can watch it. It's really, really good. And, something nice to do on a rainy evening is to watch a funny movie. That's the kind of stuff I put in the Patreon, just so you guys can, get a taste of that. Go to patreon.com/weirdafnews or weirdafnews.com. And good luck with your life, man.